Well, good afternoon and welcome to Bayou Bets for Thursday, June the 15th. I'm Zach Ewing along with Jim Derry. This is, I guess, effectively, Jim, our College World Series preview edition, looking at all the odds, all the matchups, and the projections and our picks for what happens to the LSU Tigers in Omaha. I even wore my purple today. I didn't really mean to do that. I just
Yeah,
realized it this
I
day.
gotta remember not to wear blue with a green screen behind me because it doesn't like it. I had to like fade out my background just to make it so you didn't see through me. I mean, I could have
Yeah.
been like the ghost runner you like so much in baseball.
Oh God, don't even get me
It
started.
would just
See,
been my face.
I was in a good mood, damn it, and then you go and like,
Just
why are
want to
we doing
start off
that?
the show just right, get you
Yeah.
feisty.
All right. Well, you know where they won't have a freaking ghost runner in extra innings is in Omaha. They won't be dealing with
Can you
that.
say frickin' on Bayou Bets? I don't know.
I can. It's my show. I'm going to say frickin' if I want to,
Okay.
especially when it comes to the ghost runner. Jerry's here. What's up, Jerry? Um,
Hello, Jerry. Happy
Jerry's
belated birthday.
birthday yesterday. Happy birthday, How old we turning,
Jerry, are
Jerry?
you 20? Are you 29 again, like my wife? My wife celebrated the Xth. I can't say what number it is. Anniversary of her 29th birthday, where a leprechaun cast a spell upon her, and she has remained 29 ever since.
Her too, huh? That happened to my wife. It must be the
It's
same leprechaun.
amazing.
I'm
Her
gonna guess
39.
Jerry's the type of guy who maybe doesn't care.
So
Well,
I'm 39 too. Then okay.
Okay, all right. We'll go with it. Jerry's 39. Hey, subscribe to the Bayou Bets YouTube channel if you have not already. I know a lot of you watching right now are on Facebook or on the NOLA.com YouTube channel, but go over there to the Bayou Bets channel. We kind of post some shorts from the shows if you miss it or you can't watch the whole
Good
thing.
stuff.
Zoe puts up some of the highlights and some of the shorts, and you can get it in those bite-size nuggets. So check that out. Get a subscription. We're going to be posting content from Omaha up there too. I'm actually headed up tomorrow night. I'll be there Saturday. I won't get there tomorrow's games. Did Jim just freeze with this scratching his chin for everyone, or was that just for me?
Am I
Because
still
if so,
frozen?
that's got to be. You were like this,
Oh,
just frozen. Yeah, you look not quite Aristotle-esque, but
I'm having issues today. My computer is not. I don't know if it's my internet speed or what. Something's going on.
all
Computer's
right.
acting weird. I'm got a little lag too.
Other stuff we'll talk about today. The U.S. Open is ongoing for golf in L.A. Some low scores out there, a couple of 8 under pars. So we'll talk about that. Also, the NBA offseason has begun. The Nuggets win the NBA title. Rumors swirling around the Pelicans. They did make one move today. The other move that everyone's talking about, I don't think either one of us thinks will actually happen, but we'll talk about it. We'll discuss it. We'll see if anyone disagrees with us. And then last night, the 2024 SEC football schedule was released. That's the first one with Oklahoma and Texas included. And so pretty interesting stuff on what it means for LSU. And we'll talk about that as well. But first off, we're going College World Series. LSU, they actually play the last opening round game. They don't play until
Of course
Saturday
they
night
do.
at 6. But can you blame the NCAA for making this a primetime game? I mean, if
No,
you're
and
a
it had
college
to.
baseball fan, this is must-see TV.
Yeah, it had to be Saturday because both teams and two teams in that side of the bracket had to play until Monday night, so they had to make this a Saturday games. I understand that, but man, I got something going on Saturday. I'm gonna have to, and it's people who aren't. There's a few sports fans there, but I'm sorry, but you're just gonna have to excuse me while either you put it up on that TV up there, or I'll watch it on my phone and not engage with you people. Whatever you want.
This is the same construct that tells people in the South you don't get married on a Saturday in the fall.
Exactly.
You just don't do it.
You don't.
Unless you want people to show up at your wedding watching football on the screens, or you're going to make that a part of your wedding, you just don't do it.
15-second story. So my best friend gets married way back when in 2002, and going to get married on a Saturday in the fall. He goes, well, I picked a game where it won't matter. It was LSU versus Kentucky. And it was just so
Bluegrass
happened,
Miracle?
the Bluegrass Miracle. And
Oh,
people were calling me on my cell phone, and I told them I would never forgive him for making me miss the Bluegrass Miracle
you
live.
can't, like, a game that doesn't matter, and no disrespect to these schools, but it's LSU McNeese or LSU and Lamar or something. Like, it's an SEC game. Something could happen. I don't care if it's
Exactly.
Vanderbilt. Like, something could happen. So
Exactly.
yeah. Anyway, back to baseball. LSU and Tennessee, same matchup. They played back in March, and it was at the box.
Yeah.
And LSU won 2 out of 3 in the series, including the Friday night game in which Paul Skeens pitched, as he will Saturday. Now they won that game 5-2, but it was 2-2 in the 8th inning, and then I think it was Jordan Thompson hit like a bases clearing, bases loaded double in the bottom of the 8th after Tennessee had committed an error. They were all unearned runs, and so it was not a dominating victory by any stretch. And I don't think LSU can, oh hey, we're throwing Skeens, we're going to win game 1. Like having Paul Skeens a big advantage. You see the odds -210, but Tennessee's playing well, and at this time of year, you just can't count on anything.
I wonder if that dude who pitches for Tennessee with the vein bulging out of his neck, I wonder if his blood pressure is going down to at least like 180 over 100 yet.
I wonder if he's still alive.
I mean, that guy looked like he was going to have an aneurysm. What is wrong with that clown?
He was. Those of you who didn't see it, it was the game 3 of the Super Regional against Southern Miss, and he had just struck somebody out to end like the 6th inning. It wasn't even the
I think it was the 7th, but still.
Maybe the 7th. It wasn't even all that late in the game, and he is like making throat slashing gestures, and veins bulging out of his head, and
I think his teammates were even staying away from him. Something's wrong with that cat.
Like, whoa, buddy, whoa!
Exactly.
And then, was it you or was it Robert in our production meeting who noted that the next inning his velocity was from like 102
it was Robert.
93. Yeah. I mean, it was like he was throwing 102 and then he flips out on the way back to the dugout, and 10 minutes later he's back out there for the 8th inning.
He probably couldn't breathe.
He doesn't have any velocity left. Yeah.
I mean, who does that?
Can't wait to see what he does in Omaha. One thing I'll note on this game, the over-under is 10. That's actually very low for a college baseball game.
Yeah,
and Skeens on the mound, so
I think that's about right. Like I said, if it was, I think I said this Monday that if it was 12 or above, that I was jumping on the under. So I don't think you can do that now at 10 in a college baseball game. What's the chances to score? I mean, you could easily get a 5-5 game going into the 9th. I mean, it's probably not going to happen. If I had to bet, I would bet the under, but I'm not going to mess with over under of 10 in college baseball. I'm just not. You don't know what Skeens is going to be like. This is a whole different world, different animal now, as well as he's pitched. When you go to Omaha, and it's a different place you haven't pitched, with the surroundings that he's going to face, and a team that knows him. I don't expect this to be. I certainly don't expect it to be a blowout. You can't bet on LSU at -210. That number's going up. It was -200 when I did the newsletter last night. So if you wanted to bet and you were and you're able to do so with your gut feelings and all that stuff, I mean, Tennessee's the value at +170. I'm not saying I think LSU is going to win, but not enough to make me stay off of Tennessee +170 if I were forced to bet the game, which I'm not, and I won't. But I think I'm just not going to bet against Skeens. But I think that this is a tight game. I'd be surprised if this is a game like they played against Kentucky in game 1 of the Super Regionals. I think it's going to be a tight game throughout. I think it's a fingernail biting kind of game, and I think it's lower scoring, and I think it's 4-2 or so going into the 8th or going into the 9th.
If you do like LSU, consider the run line. They're -115 at -1.5, so they have to win by 2. I don't particularly like betting run lines with home teams, and LSU will be the home team in this game, and that's simply because if the game is tied,
one less bat,
they're gonna one less bat. But let's say the game's tied going into the 9th, they're gonna play for 1 run.
That's also
if they hit a homer or something, right? But if let's say they get second and third, nobody out, in a normal inning, you might expect to get 2 runs there, but in the bottom of the 9th, you're just getting 1. So it makes it more difficult.
You say that, and one of our daily best bets today is a home team with a run line. So there's a reason for it, though.
I'm not crazy about it, but not to say they never hit, certainly, but it's a little bit risky. But if you do like LSU, you'd consider that -1.5 run line. College World Series championship odds, they get going tomorrow. Tomorrow, the first game's TCU and Oral Roberts, who are kind of the underdogs of the group, along with Stanford, I suppose. Here's your 4 favorites at Caesars. Wake Forest, this number shrunk a little bit too, +235. It was +260 earlier in the week. LSU also has come down a little bit. I think they were +360. And then you see Florida go up and Virginia
+380 as late as right after they won game 2 in the Super Regional.
Yeah. So some money coming in on the 2 favorites here. And I was digging into some Wake Forest numbers this morning. That team has been absolutely dominating. And I understand everybody said, oh, they haven't done it against the SEC. They did do it against an Alabama team that was playing very well last week. And I am in the boat that there is something to be said, even if it's against a lesser opponent, of just dominating. They've got they have I believe they have the nation's best ERA by more than a run. I mean, by more than a run. And
Big deal.
no, that's not right. It's by like 0.6 or something. But their team ERA is 2.84. Nobody else is even below 3.4. So it's easily the nation's best pitching staff. And then you go with a lineup that scored a bunch of runs. I think that's the team to beat. I think they're the right
coach by a former UNO coach.
Yeah,
Tom Walter.
It really kind of came out of nowhere. Like Wake Forest won national title in baseball in 1955.
Yeah.
But boy,
look, they're a team that, again, I said it Monday. I think I said it for multiple weeks now. Wake Forest is unbettable. People just like to bet favorites. I mean, people who just jump on, let me see who the favorite is, and I'll put money on them. That's what happens with anything. Now, let me get interested in college baseball now. Oh, Wake Forest beat Alabama 22-5. They must be awesome. I'll go put money. Oh, you giving me 2-1? Okay, sure. I'll go put money on that. They're unbettable. You can't bet a team like that at plus 235. And frankly, I wouldn't even bet on LSU unless you were just doing it to be a homer and you wanted to have a little something that they won at plus 340. I think you kind of maybe missed the boat when you could have got them even a week ago. I think they were like plus 480 before the Super Regional started. So I like Florida. I think Florida has the easiest road to the championship series. I very much think they come out of that bracket. And I actually think that's a fair value. I still think it's going to be LSU and Florida. If Florida comes out of there and it is LSU Florida, you can hedge with LSU if you bet on Florida, because I think it'll be fairly close to even money at that point. So, I'm less sure about LSU getting out of their bracket than I am about Wake Forest, because those two are certainly going to butt heads.
Yeah, and if LSU can win behind Paul Skeens on Saturday, they would get Wake Forest on Monday night, assuming Wake Forest beats Stanford. I don't want to assume
they're going to play Monday regardless. So whether they win
play
or
Monday
lose.
afternoon if they lose, Monday night if they win. How about the four teams that aren't on this list? The bottom four: Tennessee plus 800, TCU plus 900, Stanford 15-1, Oral Roberts 25-1. If you had to lay money on one of those four underdogs, who would it be?
Real money or just $1 to win, to brag and say I won something?
All right. I mean,
there's two different viewpoints. Like I said the other day,
no biscuit.
The other day I said I'm just going to put $1 or $2 on Oral Roberts because I'd like the way they're playing. We talked about them winning 23 out of 24. I think what they did in the Super Regional to blow an 8-0 lead, lose the game 9-8 in Oregon, and still come out and win the last two games was super impressive. So I am going to put $1 or $2 on them. But I think the value on that side, other than if someone's going to beat Florida, I think it's going to be TCU. I like the way they're playing as of late. And I think they're a decent value of plus 900 to make it through and maybe win the thing. But either Wake Forest, LSU, or Tennessee that comes out of this side, I think is going to most likely Wake Forest, LSU, or Tennessee is going to have an upper hand because they're going to have to fight harder. I think that makes a team a little bit better going into a championship series. That's my opinion.
Yeah, the team that I'll take in those bottom four is probably TCU, 9-1. I think that, there's 8 teams left. You get them at 9-1. I think they're at least an average team in this field. I like the way they're playing. They do get to open with Oral Roberts, which you could consider an advantage. So,
yeah.
Once you win that first game, not that you're in the final 6 at that point, because obviously there's a loser's bracket and teams could come through, but you really are effectively in the final 6, because if you lose, 2 teams will have lost the 0-1 game on Sunday, Monday. So.
One thing I really like about TCU is the fact that at plus 900, you're basically getting them at a little over 2-1 to beat Florida. And again, unless something happens strange, I don't think Stanford's good at. I don't think they're very good at all. I
didn't like the way Stanford played against. They tried to give.
I didn't either. I didn't think they were very good at all. So I don't give them. I don't give them hardly any chance. So I really like it to be Florida and TCU and battling for that spot. So if you're going to give me more than 2-1, which they certainly wouldn't be, if it comes down to Florida versus TCU, winner goes to the championship series. TCU is not going to be plus 210, and so you're getting a better number at them here. And I would, if you want to bet someone from that side, I like them at that number. Plus 900 is a good number.
Great point. And I don't mind Virginia either, although I just don't, the 6-1 price. I do like Virginia as a team, but 6-1's not rich enough for me, considering they got to open with Florida. They're dogs in that opening game. And if you lose your opening game, I mean, you can say they should beat Oral Roberts. You're one bad game away from going home at that point. So you really don't want to have to mess with that.
We all know weird things happen in the College World Series. It's all about who gets hot. And, I don't think any team's going to come out of the losers bracket. I'll just say that. I think you need to win your first 2 games to get to that championship series. I don't, it's happened before, but I think it's, besides stating the obvious, it's a major advantage psychologically to win those first 2 games, because the team that's the most confident and is playing the best ball is going to have the advantage going to the championship series. And that's why if LSU can find a way to beat Tennessee and Wake Forest back-to-back games, they're going to be in the catbird seat. They got a great shot. So can't discount them for sure. I think they're playing the best baseball right now. I really do.
Yeah, it's hard to say that Wake Forest is not the team, but let's go into our picks, because I'm going to take Wake Forest to win the whole thing. I just think, I don't know that I would bet them at plus 235, but I do think that if you had to pick a winner, they have the most complete team. They have the deepest pitching staff, which is a huge advantage, obviously, especially if you were to drop a game. Let's say they lose to LSU in the game on Monday. They are a team I think could come back through and beat a Tennessee and then get another shot at LSU. And they'd have to beat them twice. But at that point, they probably have more pitching left than LSU. And so I'm going to take Wake Forest to win it all. I really am. And I think I'll go Wake Forest over TCU. How's that in the
final? Wake Forest and TCU. Okay, I see what you're saying. Look, I'm not going to change my final prediction. I've been saying the same thing since before the regionals even started. That's how long I've been saying this, and now it's a very good possibility. So I'm going to stick with the same thing that I said before, and it's LSU versus Florida. I'm not going to be a homer because I'm going to pick Florida to win the championship. I think Florida has the easiest road. I'm going to kind of contradict myself a little bit, but I think they're that good that where even if they come out of this easiest bracket, I think they may have to expend so much less energy than these other teams may have to. I just think they're that much better than everyone else. So I'm going to take Florida over LSU, but I think if it happens that way, it's going to be a great series. And I think it's going to go 3 games and we'll get our money's worth for sure. But that's my pick, Florida over LSU in the championship series.
All right. Drop in the comments what you think will happen in Omaha over the next 12 days or so, and I'll be there Saturday, and we'll be doing some live stuff on the YouTube page. So make sure you're subscribed to the Bayou Bets YouTube page and some other videos as well. So it'll be lots of fun. Our Instagram, our Twitter account, all that stuff. Our TikTok, we'll have it all. Although, wait, Nebraska's not one of those states that banned TikTok, is it? There's 2 states that I think it was Montana and somebody.
I have no idea. I don't know. You have to force me to get on TikTok. One of these days you're going to force me, but you haven't yet. So I get it. My wife is a TikTok flipper. I mean, it's incessant. I mean, she'll sit there for 4 hours and watch TikTok, but just for that reason alone, I'm not a fan of TikTok. But that's a whole nother story that no one cares
about. Moving on to literally a whole nother story. The NBA. Look. The offseason has started because the rumors are flying. And first of all, I gotta say this. The Denver Nuggets, most of the time I roll my eyes at championship parades. This was, by all looks of it, an epic parade today. I don't know if anybody saw some of the highlights, but Michael Malone, the coach, is going off into the crowd and spraying champagne on people and talking about how we're going to run this expletive back. And Nikola Jokic, who on Monday night after Game 5 had that kind of viral clip where they told him there's a parade on Thursday, and he goes, "Oh, I just want to go home." Well, then he gets out of the parade and he goes, I say I don't want to go to parade, but this parade is expletive, incredible, and it was fabulous, man. It was seriously. Nebraska did ban TikTok, Zoe tells us. Okay,
Yeah, it's
well,
2020.
I guess I won't be doing TikToks. I'm going to be at Harris Council Bluffs across the river in Iowa, though, and I might be doing some TikToks from there.
I wouldn't ban TikTok. There's too
No,
many videos about corn on there.
Iowa's the Wild West, man. You can do anything in Iowa.
I mean, you definitely not being banned in Iowa. Look, I was wondering when they were going to Colorado, were they actually going to, spray champagne or smoke weed? I mean, it's a valid question, right?
Where's the speaking of TikTok, we need the GIF of the girl saying, "Why not both?"
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe you could soak your weed in champagne, although it probably wouldn't light very well. Might taste a little weird, but then eat it. I don't know. Pour a little weed on your brownie. I don't know. Whatever.
What are you talking about?
I don't know. I'm off the rail. I'm counting the days to vacation, buddy.
Dipping weed brownies in champagne.
Hey, man, you won the championship. Do whatever the hell you want.
It's like 12 days until your vacation. You can't be counting it down yet.
Maybe I'm thinking about
but
dipping champagne in brownies. I don't know. Whatever.
All right. These are next year's odds. Let's talk about that before we get to the Pels, because we got some Zion to talk about. But Nuggets are the favorites for next year. I mean, it sure looks like they're going to have most everybody back. Bruce Brown, I think, is the guy who's has an opt-in year. But they're trying to chant his name and stuff at the parade. Like, I don't know that that's a piece that's going to cost you a chance at a title. The question is, what does the Western Conference do around Denver? Because to me, there's no reason you shouldn't pencil them in as the favorites.
Yeah, I mean, they got that Kansas kid. He's really good. Twice.
He's not better than the Mizzou kid they've got, though.
All
Michael
right,
Porter Jr. played a whole 3 games at Mizzou. Okay.
Look, I'm just
legend.
I'm just saying. Well, the Kentucky kid is better than all of them, but that's another story.
The Serbian kid is better than all.
The Serbian. Well, I'm not even bringing up the Serbian kid because that goes without saying. Look, I just hate talking about who's the favorite for next year. We just finished the finals. Good Lord, I can't stand that basketball is a 10-month season as it is. So can I know we have to talk about certain things. We definitely need to talk about Zion, but as far as favorites go, I don't know. I'm not betting anybody at plus 500 when a season's over. If you want to go do that, go ahead. I mean, I don't think you're going to see massive odds changes, so there's absolutely no reason to do that. It's not like they're going to be plus 400.
Money, right?
Yeah, it's not going to be like plus. By the way, I got a little beef with a certain book that when we get to our rant, I'm going to spend 20 seconds stealing from my rant. Don't let me forget when you talk about holding money. But you just can't bet that right now. It's just there's no reason to bet it. If you like it in October, bet it in October because it'll still be the same price and maybe even better.
Well, and you'll have more information, right? You'll have the draft will be over, free agency will be over,
exactly,
and any training camp injuries you'll know about. I mean, and those things could shift the odds. Granted,
well, if it's a quarter less, is that gonna change your whole? Oh, I'm not betting it now. It's plus 475.
I mean, you want to be informed as a bettor in all circumstances. So, speaking of free agency, one thing. And trade markets and things like that. Shams, is it Sharania? I never know how to pronounce his last name. They just call him Shams from The Athletic. He was on a video show earlier this week suggesting that the Pelicans were trying to trade up in the draft to the number 2 or 3 pick with their eyes on point guard Scoot Henderson, who played for the development team this past season and has been very impressive in training camps. And Victor Wembanyama is going to be the number 1 pick. The Spurs will take him certainly. Scoot Henderson could go number 2. It could be Brandon Miller from Alabama. They'll go 2 and 3 in some order. And so the Pelicans have their eyes on Scoot Henderson. They do need a point guard. Like, it would be a good fit for them. But Shams floated the idea that the Pelicans could trade Zion Williamson to move up to this number 2 pick. And I think, Jim, you and I are on the same page with this, but good idea or bad idea?
I know it's not going to happen. My 25-year-old know-it-all son was all over this yesterday, sending me constant text. I'm like, dude, get it. I mean, that's what this is about. This is so people will go and read their publication or look at their social media or get more followers. That's what this is about. I mean, it's not happening. You're not going to go trade, like we were saying in the pre-production. You don't go trade the player you've been like bringing up from the bottom, trying to get him to play a full season and go trade him for dimes on the dollar. It's not going to happen. So no, I mean, it doesn't make any sense anyway. unless you know something is really wrong with this dude and you're going to pawn him off on someone else who then would also know before they make the trade that something's really wrong with this dude. And then so they're not going to make the trade. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know that I'll go quite that strong. I mean, I do think if the Pelicans, teams do physicals before trades. If there's something wrong with him right now, they're going to know. But if the Pelicans have spent enough time with Zion to say, we don't believe he's going to lose the weight, we don't believe he's going to stay healthy long term, and we're going to cut bait now. That's the only way.
They wouldn't have made all these changes if they. They make changes to the medical staff. We didn't really touch on Teresa Witherspoon being fired. I mean,
Teresa Witherspoon just announced this morning, or actually this afternoon, let go by the Pelicans, and she was close with Zion. By the way, she was. I mean, he specifically mentioned her as someone who helped him through his rehab and helps him with his mental and all of those things. So just
that's kind of my point.
Yeah.
So I think that they're already gearing up. I think there's probably talk behind the scenes like, look, buddy, you ain't a baby anymore. We're not sitting around waiting for you to grow up and do whatever it is that you want to do, because this is big boy basketball now. We're cutting ties with these other people, and you're going to start doing it the right way. And I mean, from what the little I've seen, I think he wants to do it the right way. I think he's just young. He's just, some people grow up faster than others, and Zion's probably not growing up as fast as some, especially males. I mean, I denied the whole thing until I was 27 or 29 that, women grow up faster than men. They just do. It's a fact. And so I think that he's probably a baby at heart and he's needing to grow up. And I think this is probably part of him growing up.
Yeah. At some point there's a put up or shut up for Zion. And I think it's this coming season. Do you trade him before that point? I don't think you do unless you're just blown away by the offer, unless somebody wants to pay the full dollar value for him. And even then, is he going to get better? It's a hard situation. I certainly, if the question is, hey, if you really want Scoot Henderson, you want to get up and get him, I'd certainly trade Zion before I trade Brandon Ingram.
You can't trade Brandon Ingram.
But I don't know if that is the question. I mean,
I don't think
at this point,
yeah,
you don't want to trade either one of them.
I think what probably happened, and we talked about this as well. I think there was probably some talk behind the scenes. That talk got out. Did the talk mean anything? I mean, there are always like talks. Would you be interested in trading so-and-so? And David Griffin probably said, we'll trade anybody if the price is right. And so then that becomes, the Pelicans are thinking about trading about Zion. So it's I won't say it's not going to happen. It's very highly unlikely that they would cut bait on Zion Williamson at this point when they just basically made a huge commitment to him. It's just, let's talk about this again next year.
Let's play the hypothetical game just for a second as we have the Pelicans odds there on the screen. If the Pelicans did pull the trigger on this trade, and I think we've made clear we don't think that's going to happen, but if they do, and there's no meaningful pieces changing for next year's team other than Zion's off, Scoot Henderson is on. How far up do those odds go?
50-1.
Boy, I don't think it'd be that much.
I do. You can write him off.
Zion, if you could guarantee Zion was going to be healthy for 70 plus games, I think
right, which is what those numbers are.
I think they're 21 at that point.
I don't
think you can. I think there's a less than 50-50 chance he plays.
No, because if they come out and say, let's say they start the season, Zion stays and they start out 12-3. Well, then they're going to 18-1 anyway. And it's no less of a chance that he plays 70 games then than there would be. I mean, look at what happened this year. He went out in January. So, I mean, I don't agree that those numbers are based on. I think those numbers will change drastically. And I don't even mean, you don't even need 15 games, really. If they start out hot out the gate and go like 6-2, then they'll be like 20-1. So, I mean, you can't. I just think without Zion, this team is. Without a healthy Zion, this team has no shot. I don't care who they get.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I don't know that I 100% agree with that statement, but I do think their best chance is with Zion. I mean, in the short time he's been on the court, he has shown himself to be a difference maker. I think the problem is like the best ability is availability, right? Like you can't help the club in the tub, and Zion's been in the top
or at the buffet.
I mean, and that's the thing or
with someone else somewhere else. I don't know what. Anyway,
If you're making headlines off the court, you're not helping the team. Let's just leave it at that.
I don't know what y'all think. I'm talking about like his buddy at the buffet.
So he's
Get your minds out of the gutter. Stop it.
Shut up, Jim.
Stop it. Move on.
All right, we're gonna move on. U.S. Open golf. Here's your live odds. This is as of about 2 minutes ago. We got Xander at plus 275. Xander Schauffele and Ricky Fowler had course records today, or not course records, excuse me. They had U.S. Open single round records at the Los Angeles Country Club. Xander at plus 275. You see Fowler plus 550. Scotty Scheffler. There's a 5-shot gap after them, by the way. So it wasn't like this was the John Deere where everybody's going to shoot 7 or 8 under. Those two shot 8 under. The best round of anybody else thus far is 3 under, and Scheffler's one of those. Rory's off to a nice start. He's an afternoon guy. Remember, this is in California. It's only 2:30 there. Lots of golf still to be played, even in this round.
Stays light.
What are your early? Yeah, what are your early impressions?
I said it on Monday's show. I said it in my picks to click. I like Ricky Fowler as the long shot. He was plus 5,500 to start this thing. So go Ricky Fowler. I got a lot of stock in Scheffler and Fowler this week. Those are the two that I really liked. I like the way Ricky Fowler's been playing. I thought his price was way, way, way too low for the way he's been playing. And he knows how to play these, obviously, play these sorts of events because he's been doing them for a long time. So I still think you can't bet on him now, I don't think, at plus 550. That's kind of ridiculous. Nor can you bet on either of the other two. So if you want to get Rory, you better jump on him now because those odds are probably going to go.
Jim, Rory has birdied the first 2, and now he's plus 800.
Yeah, there you go. So
he just moved. Yeah, so
you almost have to hope he does something silly. But I'm the kind of guy who likes to buy live odds after round 2. And I'll buy someone that's maybe lying in the weeds. I don't think any of these numbers are great. Rahm at plus 1,600, playing really, he hasn't played all that great as of late. And he was 1 under today and did nothing spectacular. And I got to be honest, from what I understand, the morning conditions were about as good as any conditions are going to be the rest of the tournament. So I don't know that you're going to see any crazy numbers. You just got to hope, if your guy's not even par or better, he's not going to win this tournament after today, is my opinion. So just kind of watch how it goes. You want to make a bet after this evening, but there's really nothing of value right now. The value was before this thing started. And even Scheffler now, it's funny because he's 5 shots back and his odds are lower now than they were when this tournament started.
Yeah, which is kind of interesting. But it also goes to show you, Jon Rahm is not out of contention, certainly, but he's got a much bigger hill to climb. Some of the afternoon guys have not started out well. Matt Fitzpatrick has not started out well, the defending champion. I'll give you a name that I also gave you on Monday. I think Tony Finau has a good week. I don't know if he's going to win it, but I played him in DraftKings. I played him for a top 10.
That stinker he put up a few weeks ago really kind of like, I don't know. He was playing so well. He was playing so well for so long. I thought he was due to regress. He's one of those guys I need to see come back a little bit. I'm not sure about, I don't know. His numbers not to
move to 1 under. He's only through 3 holes. So
back to make him 30 to 1 probably, but
we're barely more than
none of these guys are really bettable, honestly, at this point. So that's the point. Look, Xander is in the best spot, obviously, of a first round leader because really at 8 under, 8 under might win this tournament if you think about it. I mean, it's not out of the question to see. 6 under won it last year, and I know it's a different course, but so you're talking about Xander just needing to shoot even par the rest of the way. I think that's possible. More than
guarantee
possible.
You the USGA is going to look at these scores and say 2 guys shot 62.
Yeah, they're going to do some.
No way. Yeah. And they're going to tuck some pins, and they're going to water things that need to be watered, and they're going to dry out things that need to be dried out.
It's hard to dry out things that need to be dried out, but yeah.
They got those big blower things. They can dry the greens out.
Not going to do that.
I don't know. I just think they're going to do whatever they can to make it a little bit tougher.
They might move the pins in tough spots tomorrow and move the tees back, which you could see. They already have like what, a 260-yard par 3 with potential to be 275 yards. So I don't know what else you really want them to do. These two dudes are just shooting well. The average score today coming into when we were going on the show was 72, which is 2 over. So I mean, it's not much. That's what you want for a U.S. Open. So you can't. You really want it to be like 3 over. So that it's going to be harder tomorrow, but you don't want it to be too much harder where people are complaining and moaning.
I think they do kind of like that.
And one they eat champagne brownies.
I will say that it looks like it's going to be a great tournament as far as the leaderboard. I mean, you got Xander and Scotty up there. It looks like Rory
I think it's going to be a great one
in this week. Ricky Fowler's kind of a fan favorite. He doesn't have the pedigree necessarily that those guys do, but he's won big tournaments in the past. So, Ricky Fowler will be fun. Bryson DeChambeau's
Happy Father's Day.
Max Homa's up there. Yeah, it's got Phil Mickelson is 2 under already.
Oh, don't get me started.
Names up there. Well, I'm just saying, like
he needs to go jump in a lake, and there's no lake.
It will be interesting if he's in the mix on Sunday, like he.
I'll change my channel when he goes to shoot.
People will watch. Brooks Koepka not off to a great start. That's it, again very early for these guys, but he's 1 over through 2 holes. Same with Patrick Cantlay. So
it's early.
I don't know. I think it'll be an interesting tournament. I really like the idea of a stars.
Uncle Big Nick always likes to joke because we got a buddy who, like, if somebody starts hot out the gate, he's like all over him and saying, blah. Happened again today. And Uncle Big Nick will say, yep, this tournament's over. Write it up. It's over. And then the next day, Uncle Big Nick's messing with the dude. So it's golf is a weird thing. I mean, how often does the first round leader win? Very rarely. So even in this case, you don't get a lot of wire to wires.
The next time that there's a major and the sports books offer a bunch of prop bets, go find one for wire to wire winner. It'll be like 25 to 1. It might be higher. I mean, it just doesn't
happen. No.
Yeah, and 25 to 1 would be bad value, by the way, on that. Now
this
is a tournament.
If you got it from a sports book, I mean, no offense to our partners and our friends, but it's probably a bad value. I mean,
they're in the for-profit business, and
exactly.
I will say when it does happen, it's because of this. It's because a really good golfer like Xander Schauffele goes out and has a great first round, and then nobody can catch it. That's the only time you see a wire-to-wire winner.
And so Mabel's spending her Social Security money on Xander Schauffele right now as we speak.
I don't want to bet him at 275, but I did get him at 21 plus 2100. And then I bet him live at plus 800 after he started out well. So I put a little more on him, and now he's plus 275.
I'm not rooting against you as we move on. I know it's time to move on, but I'm not rooting against you. But whenever I don't have a piece of anyone that's leading on day after day one, I usually like it because, again, wire to wire just ain't going to happen. But
it's hard to do, especially at a U.S. Open where they will change the conditions. They will change the pin location.
Oh, certainly.
Yeah, but Xander looked very good today. He was first in the field strokes gained approach. He was third in the field strokes gained putting. I mean, he was all over the place. He was.
If Scotty putts like he putted today, except on 18 when he missed a little 2-footer at the end there, if he putts like he putts today, he is going to shoot 3 under every day, and he is going to finish 10 or 12 under. And I don't know that anyone else can be able to catch him. So as you go forward,
I mean, Scotty actually was fairly pedestrian tee to green today, which he's been by far the best player in the world all year. He lost strokes against the field in short game, but he was 6th in the field thus far in strokes gained putting. So you're right. If he putts like that, he's going to win this thing.
Lights out.
He is. Yeah. Finally, our last topic of the day: the 2024 SEC schedule was released last night, and here's LSU's opponents. This is just a one-off. It's an 8-game schedule. It's kind of interesting because there's not going to be divisions for the first time in a long time in the SEC next year, but they're not to their permanent schedule rotation with Texas and Oklahoma, which they expect to be finalized by the 2025 season. So this is just kind of a one-off year. Very interesting the way they shape things up. I think they try to make it even. They throw LSU a bone with a Vandy home game. You're going to be a big favorite in that game. The road games don't look too bad, at least certainly not worse than usual. And you get Oklahoma and Alabama at home. It's an interesting schedule.
It is an interesting schedule, but again, we don't know what's going to happen when they all get together and Oklahoma and Texas get the vote. We'll see, but I'm not for the three permanent opponents. I just don't like that. I don't think it's fair. Again, I get that some people would be upset. Auburn, we talked about a pre-production. I don't think Auburn would be upset if they got Alabama all the time because they want to play that game. It's going to make them money. They want that rivalry, but some other teams may get hosed. If Georgia probably gets Florida, LSU probably gets Texas A&M. You go down the line, Oklahoma would probably get Texas.
And meanwhile, Tennessee gets Vanderbilt.
Correct.
How is that fair for the
exactly?
Other contenders?
I mean, that's like a free win. So it's just, I hope that they look at this from a fair point of view, and I just don't think that they're probably not going to do this, but I would rather just see a completely rotating schedule. There are 16 teams in the league, and I would rather just see, if you're going to play 9 opponents, you just play 9, and you get 2 or 3 teams that you play twice in a row, but it's going to rotate, and you're going to get. And I get that that Alabama then wouldn't play the Auburn, Alabama Auburn Egg Bowl. I understand that, but it's easy to do. Put it that way, it's easy to do.
Anyway, we'll see, and it's impossible to do because it's not impossible to do. They will not get rid of the Iron Bowl. They will not get rid of the Egg Bowl. They're not going to do that. People would write.
I remember for years and years and years and years when I was growing up, they will never do it. LSU will always play Tulane in that last game of the year. It will never change, ever change. And then they made it so they played them early in the year. Okay, well, they'll never not play Tulane. And a few years later, Skip said, "You know what? We're not playing Tulane anymore. It's a waste of our time." So
I think Alabama Auburn's different, man.
Okay.
I just you probably gave away your answer, but I was going to ask you, as an LSU alumnus, how does it make you feel that this is the only time in 100 years, except for 1 year during World War II, when Mississippi State didn't have a team? This is the first time in 100 years LSU is not playing Mississippi State in football. Does that bother you?
Not one iota. I mean, now I would rather play Mississippi State than Florida, but it has nothing to do with the fact that they played for 100 years in a row. Just that I'd rather play Mississippi State than Florida. I mean, I'd rather play Mississippi State than Alabama. Again, doesn't have anything to do with the fact that they played Mississippi State 100 years in a row. So no, I don't care if they played somebody 138 years in a row. I mean, it didn't bother me when they cut Tulane out of the schedule. I mean, it was a waste of time.
Well, Tulane was no longer I mean, that to me, that's a different story. They were no longer on LSU's level.
Well, they weren't LSU's level in 82 either, and Tulane beat the hell out of them. I mean, and they beat them, I think, again a couple of years later when LSU was going to the Orange Bowl and Tulane was like 3-8. So I mean, just can't never say never. But no, it doesn't bother me to answer your question.
All right. Yeah, it will be interesting, and as Jerry said, it's strange. It's going to take getting used to.
As we say that, by the way, my dog's outside barking. I don't think you can hear him through my mic because it's a direct mic, but he's barking like hell as soon as you start. So obviously, it bothers him that the Bulldogs are not playing the Tigers. He wants a piece of those Tigers, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. All right, let's move on to our rants. We haven't talked.
Okay, that's all. That's it. That.
What's that?
No, you were ready to move on. You didn't want any more dog talk.
I mean, I can't hear your dog, so if you want to keep telling us what you want to give him the mic?
No, I'd rather see tripod on the mic. Can we do that?
We should
probably in the background.
That's Zoe's dog with 3 legs. Fantastic.
Let's move on.
What we can do. All right, we haven't talked about the Saints yet. They're, and look, it's the offseason. They made some headlines with a bow fishing trip that Derek Carr apparently loved. He was talking about how they're beating the alligator gar over the head with a hammer on the boat.
Some people thought it was an alligator. And
we had
heat of people were going to lose their minds.
Never been in the swamp. Thought it was a real alligator. But the other headline right now at the Saints is, the NFL needs somebody on Hard Knocks, the HBO show that goes inside training camp with one team. It was Dan Campbell, the Detroit Lions last year. People really loved getting to know Dan Campbell. The Lions kind of became fan favorites. This year, there's certain criteria that the NFL says, okay, well, if you have made the playoffs in the last 2 years, you're not going to be on Hard Knocks, because they want a team that's trying to build up to it. It's sort of the storyline part of it. You can't have a team that has a first-year head coach because it's just too distracting as new head coach comes in. You can't, there's certain criteria. And so as it comes out, there's only like 4 teams that actually meet all of the criteria for Hard Knocks. And it's the Saints are one of them. The other 3 are the Jets, the Commanders, and I'm missing one. But as it turns out, none of them want it.
Right.
There's headline
the Bears.
That's why it's been so late. The Bears, that's right. there's usually an announcement in March or April about who's going to be on Hard Knocks in the preseason, and we haven't had one this year simply because nobody wants it, and the NFL is trying to decide. Now, the NFL does have the ability to force a team's hand, and so they could come to the Saints and say, sorry, we know you don't want this, but HBO's coming in, they're going to do Hard Knocks. And if that happens, I actually think the Saints, who have all said to a man, we don't want these cameras in here, it's a distraction, blah, 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 blah. I actually think it's going to be just fine if that happens. I think they're an interesting team. I think they're a veteran team that knows how to handle this sort of thing. And frankly, I think the nation would kind of get to know a team that's probably pretty likable. So if the Saints do get forced to be on Hard Knocks, I have no problem with it at all. I don't think the Saints should worry. I don't think their fans should worry. Wouldn't bother me at all. I do think that if the NFL does end up forcing a team to do it, it'll be the Jets, because imagine the storylines that you could have with the New York Jets and Aaron Rodgers. But if it's the Saints, Jim, I'm just not worried about it.
I like how you've changed the wording of your rant from what it was in pre-production. You didn't have the force to be part in pre-production on the sheet. After I gave you what my response to, because my response
let me.
My response is
was always part of my thought. I knew they didn't want to. They don't.
No, it's not just that they don't want to. They won't.
I don't think they should worry.
They will absolutely have to be forced to do it. And even then, here's why I don't think it's going to happen. First off, because they're going to pick the team, and I don't think the NFL really cares which team it is. You talk about the story. The NFL doesn't care about the storyline. HBO does, but the NFL doesn't care about the storyline. So here's who I think they're going to pick. They're going to pick the team that puts up the least resistance, even if none of them want to. One of them's going to put up lesser resistance than another team. And I guarantee you, of those four teams, the Saints are going to put up the most resistance to it. They don't want to do it. They'll have to be kick, dragging, and screaming. You won't get anything from them. They'll find ways to shut you out of certain things. It's going to be a nightmare for HBO if they make HBO, if they force the Saints to do this. I'm telling you right now, it's not going to happen. So, but that being said, should they worry? I don't think they're worried. They just don't want to do it. They just don't want to do it. They're going to get away from them. So I think it's going to be a Commanders or a Bears. I've been saying for a few weeks now, I thought it would be the Bears. It makes the most sense to me. You get to Justin Fields. You can follow around Justin Fields like a lost puppy. He'll probably eat it up. Then next year the Bears will be everyone's darling. And sorry, Zoe, they'll suck then too. Just like Detroit's going to suck this year. I mean, it's so what?
Dov Kleinman, who covers the NFL and has for a long time, he actually broke this morning that NFL Films has reached out to the Lions to do a second straight year because everyone else doesn't want to so much.
I could see that.
I guess my thought is, and the Lions would be interesting.
So he's going to stick tripod on me now.
But I don't. Like, I just don't see why there is such consternation. Oh, we don't want to do it. Okay, you don't want to do it. That's fine. But if they come back and say, hey, you got to do it, it's not that big of a deal.
Well, here's the thing. If you have other teams that want to do it just because they don't face the criteria, and the four teams that are under the criteria don't want to do it, why don't you just give it to someone who wants to do it? I guess from my point of view, I guess I'd like to see the Saints on it because it'd give us things to talk about, even though I don't subscribe to HBO. I guess I would have to subscribe then. We got rid of it when Game of Thrones ended. But, if you want to put them on, I'll subscribe and watch it. They're just not going to want to do it. Put somebody on that wants to do it. That's not that hard.
Yeah, I guess. But if there isn't a team that wants to do it, I just don't get the resistance. I think it'd be fun. People get to know you. What's the big deal? But Dennis Allen, it's coming from him. He just does not strike me as the type of guy.
Because they're a very secretive organization. They always have.
Would have liked it.
Exactly. Yeah. Sean Payton, you would have had to go put him in a trance and lock him in a room. I mean, he would have definitely not have done it. Like next year, if the Broncos are under the whatever, they fill the requirement.
And I think they would be under the criteria.
Probably, unless they make the playoffs this year. Yeah. So, I mean, you're going to have to go and give him some kind of juice to get him to go on that show. He's way worse than Dennis Allen. It's not just Dennis Allen. It's the whole organization. I mean, you got to go through hoops just to talk to anybody, much less put him on Hard Knocks.
We'll find out. A storyline to follow. I think it'd be fun, but the Saints obviously don't. Jim, your rant today is more of a rant
Positive.
of love. It's
It
Father's
is.
Day on Sunday, so give us some love.
Just peace and love. That's how I end every podcast. That's who I am. I'm a nice guy. I never have any confrontations with anyone. I just want to be nice and sweet and loving. And Father's Day is a great time to be nice. A little shout out to my 25-year-old know-it-all son. It scares me to death that he's about to bear fruit, but he is. We're about to have a grandson for the first time, and I'm going to be a grandpa on Tuesday. So it's a perfect kind of Father's Day weekend. We got the U.S. Open going on, it might be my favorite tournament of them all. I think that it is. There's nothing to me like watching golf on Father's Day because no one complains. No one cares that it's Dad's day. If he wants to watch golf all day, no one's going to say, are you going to sit there and watch golf all day? No, they don't even say that then. They enjoy it. I got a real kick out of Zach, probably more than of following you, your trip, because the fact that you got to do it with your dad and your sons, and it's a lifetime moment that neither your dad nor your sons will ever forget, matter how old they get. I went on, my dad took me on a senior trip, just him and I, when I was 16. He took me to San Francisco and Lake Tahoe, and it was still to this day one of the best trips I ever went on. And it's just one of those things you don't forget. And so spending Father's Day with your kids, and again, to be able to be a grandpa in a couple of days, it's a special time, a special moment. And I hope, whether you're a dad or hopefully, out there, y'all watching, your dads are still here, or if your dads aren't still here, that, and you're a dad, you get to spend it with your kids or talk to them or love on them as much as you can, because you never know how many Father's Days you're going to have. And you never know how many Father's Day you're going to have with your dad and with your kids. So enjoy it, whether it's watching golf with them, whether it's going out to brunch or cooking on the grill or whatever it is. Make sure Father's Day is special, each and every one, and especially this one in 2023.
Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. There's just something special about dads and sons in sports, right? Like it's just a way
dads
to
and girls in sports sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not going to sit here and say everybody likes sports or every dad likes sports. I know that's not the case, but in our profession, it's just such a great way to bond with your kids over something you both care about, that ultimately, it's not that serious, right? But it's fun to talk about. I do have one question though. If you think that your son's sports takes are immature and frivolous, what is it going to be like having an 8-year-old grandson or granddaughter? Do you know grandson or granddaughter?
Grandson.
Okay, so your 8-year-old grandson in 8 years. Imagine the takes he's going to have, man. He's going to
the good news
stuff from AI or something. And
the good news is his wife is pretty grounded. So she just laughs at him. And so I'm hoping the kid just kind of realizes that you have to take everything he says with a bottle of salt. Forget the grain of salt. You need the whole damn bottle. So hopefully that the kid will learn reality through his mother.
All right. Well, I look forward to hearing
and his grandparents
complain about his
it's coming.
Wild sports takes.
That's how Datitude's going to start in a few years. There's no question.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. All right. That'll do it for us today. Happy Father's Day to the dads out there. Check us out on the YouTube channel, on the Bayou Bets YouTube channel, Twitter feed, Instagram feed, all that stuff. We'll have coverage from Omaha starting on Saturday. For our producer, Zoe Collins-Rath, and for Jim Derry, I'm Zach Ewing, and this has been Bayou Bets.